Sup nerds, this is my walkthrough guide for Ransack of Drakheim. Welcome back to my POV, and we're going to be playing Rime. We like to pull these three packs together here for the first pull. Of course, you already know that you got to watch out for the Arsonists casting Big Auga Flame. The Icebite Reavers casting Frostbitten Strength should be a secondary priority for your interrupts. For the second pack, the Bleak Frost's Mystics will cast Invigorate. You want to make sure to interrupt that because it is a heal. And let me just go ahead and demonstrate how much these beams of ice hurt. You really don't want to stand in them. Some of the mobs in this dungeon will drop gold, like in Silk and Hollow that you've already seen. That slows you down, but also gives you a damage boost. So you want to make sure as a DPS to pick those up as often as possible. Keep in mind, pillagers don't hit very hard at first, however over time they will buff themselves. Here we like to drag this patrol into the campfire pack. For the first of the two mini-bosses, the Kaldurson of Ice, you have to keep in mind that he has a frost aura. What this means is that if you stand still, he will give you continual stacking debuffs that deal more and more damage over time. So you will notice what I do is I cast a spell as Rime, and then move, and then cast a spell, and then move again. And I'm just going to continue that cycle until he is dead. If someone gets Ice Tomb, you're going to have to damage them and break them out. This is a double Bleak Frost Mystic pack. Make sure you're interrupting both Invigorates. And here is a double Arsonist pack. Big Auga Flame must be interrupted or your healer will get mad at you. For the second mini-boss, you're going to want to stand right about where this green arrow is here on my screen, and then stand still. So this one has a fire aura that deals you damage the more you move. So you really want to just plant and cast and only move when you really need to, such as out of any swirlies. What the tank is going to want to do is position them here, and as they cast Blazing Slam, they put this lava on the ground, and the tank just moves them out of it, like this, keeping the boss inside of it so you have the most amount of time. The reason why we want to make sure to do these mini-bosses is because if you do not kill them, when you fight this first boss, Fodir, his auras are going to do 50% more damage if you haven't killed the mini-boss associated with it. So for example, if you haven't killed the ice mini-boss, Fodir's ice aura will do 50% more damage. Fodir is our first boss in Drakheim. He's going to start in this case with Freezing Aura. So again, I'm going to be casting and moving and casting and moving. And the tank is going to circle him around just like he did with the fire boss, because he also has a Blazing Slam. So you'll notice that our tank positions him just like the other boss, halfway in the lava, and so he can fight him outside of it. And then he's going to switch back and forth between blazing and freezing aura. If you get Ice Tomb, what you're going to want to do is dip into the fire, in this case, because the fire deals damage to the Ice Tomb, and that means your DPS players won't have to DPS you out of it. Just make sure that when you go into the fire, you always use a personal defensive, because you take a lot of damage. For this next pull, we're going to have a new enemy called the Cold Brine Fiends. They have an ability called Icy Annihilation. That is going to be your new priority interrupt. Make sure that does not go off. Also, the Bleak Frost Slavers cast Barbed Chains. We prefer to interrupt this, but if it does go off, it's okay. What it does is it chains two people together, and the farther they are away from each other, the more damage it will deal. So if you're noticed you're chained to someone, make sure that you get close to them. And if you're a ranged player and you get chained to a melee, you're going to have to go into melee. For this area, if you go into the water, the visual effects look like it's pretty nasty, but it's really not that bad. For the second boss, Chilgar the Drowned, this is mostly just a bullet hell, dodge everything that comes at you fight. Glacial Slam is a tank-only soak, so let the tank worry about that. You do not have to soak as a DPS or a healer. Next, I want to talk about this grasping pillar you see here. If you go into the zone of the grasping pillar, you will be locked to the pillar and can only stay inside of that zone. You can escape it by killing the pillar and it will release your lock. However, they do have a ton of health. So if you're good and you feel confident that you can dodge all of the abilities while only staying inside of this circle, it's okay to just DPS the boss and only use that circle to dodge. Because it doesn't actually do any damage to you, it just limits your ability to move around the map. We'd like to drag these two packs together. In this pack, there's another new mob called the Night Mist Whisper. They have two abilities that you want to interrupt. The first is Silence, which if cast on someone, they won't be able to cast spells. The next ability they have is called Blinding Fear, which will fear the whole party, so you really want to make sure you interrupt that one. Do these packs together, but do not pull them into the Shadow of Ulgamot. You want to make sure to keep that separate. Okay, for the Shadow of Ulgamot and this Night Mist Whisper, if you have a chicken trinket, this would be a good place to use it. This is a really tough little fight. The Shadow of Ulgamot is going to cast an ability called Dark Ritual. What this does is it's going to summon 4 orbs and then put marks over the 3 pillars. What you're going to want to do is look for which orb does not have a corresponding pillar with a symbol above it. For example, in this case, there is no pillar with a leaf above it. So what you're going to do is kill this orb before it fully casts Devouring Darkness, or it's going to do about this much damage to your party. Alright, for the final boss, which I'm going to call Auga. This boss is going to cycle between 3 abilities. The first ability is going to be Revelation. For this, is play in melee range. Because this ability locks someone in place and is a soak. So everyone is going to need to run to them and soak. And if you're too far away from the tank, it will make it hard for them to soak and thus more dangerous to your party. After that, the boss is going to cast Shadow Conduit, which puts these lines around you. What you want to do is move and plant as fast as you can so that the other people can work around you. Then the boss is going to cast Revelation again. You move in and then move out for Shadow Conduit. So the whole boss, you're going to be cycling between in and out and in and out. During this, the boss is also going to cast Dark Ritual, just like the Shadow of Ulgamot. As I explained, you need to look for the orb with the symbol that does not fit on any of the pillars and kill that orb. This time, it will not be as nice. If the orb casts, you will probably wipe. And that's the fight. So this is just going to cycle. And once you've completed this, you have now reached Eternal mode. I do want to say, as of the time in recording this video in Early Access, there is no queuing system for Eternal. Unlike all the other ones where you could just queue up and it will find a random party for you, in this case, for Eternal, you actually have to have a full squad of 4. So my recommendation is to go into the Fellowship Discord, find people that want to play, chat with them, and group up. As always, I hope you enjoyed this guide, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'm happy to help.